Another edition of TradCatKnight special guest exclusive podcast right here on the TradCatKnight.org website. Folks, I believe this is going to be a cross-collaborative effort between TradCatKnight and Adam Green of No More News. For those coming over from Adam's following, please get over to TradCatKnight.org. I am podcasting Monday through Saturday, typically 3 or 4 guests on every day, about 80 podcasts a month. No joke. I've had other podcasters in the industry say that I'm crazy for doing as much, but I'm really trying to bring the very best guests onto the program. I'm trying to cover this Jew world order inside and out, breaking down all of its various sub-agendas. And of course, Adam's been doing a terrific job for the last years breaking this down and bringing out, fresh insights in regards to the times that we live in and the people who are out there, the perpetrators, if you will. And I believe we all have a thesis or an angle on this. And Adam and I were just kind of kicking behind the scenes, our perspectives on the times that we live in, and talking about Kushner a little bit. We also are going to be discussing Joe Rogan putting himself out there to be a mediator, a moderator between Trump and Biden. Can you imagine that? Very, very interesting. In any case, folks, we're moving along here. Don't forget to sign up for the TradCatKnight web conference, tradcatnight.org/web conferences. Do join us. You'll be able to interact with all of my presenters live. It's a $10 event. It's going to be 3 hours long. It is going to be truly awesome. It's going to be the Catholic Conference for sure as we break down Rome will lose the faith and become the seat of Antichrist. Yes, according to Catholic tradition, the Antichrist is going to be Jewish. He's going to be from the tribe of Dan. He is going to overrun Europe. He is going to sit in the temple, and that is to be interpreted as the third temple, but then also in Christian churches. His monument, his abomination, what we call it, the abomination of desolation, is going to go up, and he's going to be demanded to be worshipped at a certain point. That will be in the Great Tribulation period. Nevertheless, folks, let's get to some sponsors before we hand it over to Adam here today. We're kind of freestyling it today. JacksBerry.com, Catholic corporation serving Jesus and Mary with full devotion. Anyone wanting to start their own website, blog post, or any other media platform, you can contact John Dean at jacksberry.com. They'll sponsor the endeavor as long as it conforms to Catholic teaching. Visit the site, and you'll get a free T-shirt out of the cause. Visit my friend Chet Sauer, who is an accomplished oil painter of realism. She does a fantastic job. Her website is chetsauer.com. It's CHETSAUR.com. She particularly likes to do seascapes, landscapes, figurative paintings, especially portraits. If you want to gift yourself or a loved one of memories of a special spot or event, please consider her artwork. It's truly something unique, folks. It's truly something different. Her website provides plenty of examples. Again, please get behind our sponsors. They are in part what helps keep me with the ability to do this work full time. 3 Days of Darkness kits. Again, I was just mentioning to Adam, everything's been playing out just as I've been warning, doing this for nearly a decade or so now. Like we're not being surprised really by anything. The prayers, sacramentals, herbs necessary for these 3 days of darkness. I have a woman, Kathleen Loney, who's helping to distribute these items. Her email is KathleenLoney@gmail.com. She'll put one of these kits together for you. Everything is sold at cost. I'm not profiting. She's not profiting. And the latest update is, folks, $12.50 for the purple scapular, which is basically like, from a Catholic perspective, like your armor, protection against the demons, which more and more are being released into the world. And I don't know, maybe Adam and I can get into this because there's an awful lot of UFO talk lately. This ties into, in my humble opinion, the arrival of the Antichrist, Maitreya. He's been talking about this for years on his website. We also have to make mention of socialreignofchristtheking.com. That's Mike Berry's website. It's dedicated to the education and promotion of the solution for the Luciferian Judeo-Masonic insanity, which is enveloping the world. Thank you so much, Mike Berry, for joining the team. And if you want to join the sponsorship team, please do email me at apostleofmary@hotmail.com. It goes up in the advertising section on my website. It goes along the right-hand side of my website. And then I mention it again on the 80 podcasts that I do every month. So it's well worth the money. And I'm running vastly reduced rates, by the way, this month. So do support TradCatKnight if you can. And Adam, welcome back to the program. Folks, you can find Adam's work at No More News. He's got 134,000 subscribers. And amidst an age where censorship is still highly prevalent, his videos are still getting out there. I mean, the numbers still should be obviously higher, but 30,000 on just about most of his videos this week. I mean, that's still doing a great job in an age where they're just toying with the algorithms and shadow banning us like crazy. And then also get to his Twitter feed, no more news. It's no_more_news. And get to his latest information. I was retweeting some of his information. These rabbis talking junk about Gentiles and whatnot. They can't seem to get out of their way with putting the stuff out there to the public. I wish more and more people who identify as Christians would wake up to this reality. But Adam, where would you like to begin? Do you want to start with the whole potential debate with Trump and Biden, with Joe Rogan mediating? That's quite interesting. Again, Joe Rogan's probably like the uber heavyweight in terms of podcasting. I think his podcast do like 5-10 million views within a week. Pretty crazy. Welcome to the program, Adam. Where would you like to begin?
Thanks for having me, TradCat. Good to be back on. The Joe Rogan presidential debates would probably be the most viewed presidential debate of all time, and it really should be mandatory. We should demand it from our politicians that they engage in these long form discussions, like the political PAC funded ads and these short, mainstream media moderated, really controlled narrative debates are, we should demand more. Mm-hmm. But I definitely don't think it's going to happen. There's no way. They already don't want Biden to do any debates, let alone a 4-hour sit down with Joe Rogan. Yeah. And Joe Rogan has basically the biggest. They say he's the biggest podcaster in the world. He's incredibly influential. It's interesting in alternative media and kind of the conspiracy genre. Alex Jones and Joe Rogan have been friends since the 90s. Yes. And they're both like the two heads of alternative media, pumping out serious Zio disinformation on a lot of issues.
Yeah, and they also, I was mentioning this off air, they also really can't stand Catholicism and Christianity. I've been trying to get a hold of Joe for years in an effort to try to get out, our perspectives or whatnot, and I realized he would probably try to at least somewhat take a few shots here or there, but I think it's that important. David Pakman is another one that I was mentioning off air. I've been on his show, which Joe Rogan has had on his shows. But getting back to Trump there, Adam, what is some of the latest huge red flag, at least for me, to demonstrate how Trump is not, quote unquote, the good guy, as many Catholics are making it seem? And again, I'm taking more and more heat for this, Adam. I don't know. I'm not sure if you've been following the RNC versus the DNC, where the RNC, they brought out the nun and she sung the Ave Maria. And I made a point this week. I was like, listen, that should tick you off even more, because a few days prior to that, he went out and embraced that the label of being the most pro-sodomite president ever. So if you want to be a Christian and sit there and, they sung the Ave Maria. And I'm like, yeah, well, what about all these other red flags? And you and I, we've discussed all these red flags on Trump. The continued whitewashing of him. That's why I call it the Trump deception. I mean, you know what you're getting from the left, but still too many people not wanting to see who Trump really is, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, Joe Rogan too. I have a clip of him. He actually knows about the Third Temple cult and the Zionist evangelicals that are collaborating with them and supporting them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And but Jones LARPs, Alex Jones LARPs that he's some big Christian, and really he goes along with the Zionist chosen nation narrative, and admitted he's got Christian Zionists in his family. Like he spreads the idea with Jerome Corsi from WorldNet Daily that it's biblical that Trump is moving the embassy to Jerusalem. He also on InfoWars they shared a Michael Snyder collapse blog. Have you had him on?
Yeah, I've had him on last week. Yeah, we did a show a week ago. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he's a frequent guest on InfoWars, and he also goes on Pat Robertson's show. Mm-hmm. But it actually makes that Jim Baker show. He might go on Robertson too, but Jim Baker for sure. But InfoWars republished one of Michael Snyder's articles that 10 times God punished America for dividing the land of Israel. So you're hit with hurricanes and earthquakes if you don't give Israel, all of, annex all of the land and the Temple Mount and the Golan Heights or Trump Heights, the Stolan Heights.
Well, therein lies the difference, Adam, between how Catholics view the term or concept Israel or Zion when we're mentioning Scripture. That's always like if you open up a Catholic Bible and we interpret that, and all the the early church fathers interpreted, that's a reference to the Catholic Church. It's not a reference to the Rothschild puppet state of Israel. So that's what people might like Michael Snyder do, is they take that and they're like, oh, that's the Israel that you see out there in the Middle East right now. Like, no. That's not how the Catholic Church has always interpreted it. And again, the Catholic Church came before any Protestant churches. So yeah, but no, listen, I don't have any beef with Michael Snyder. I think he's a good guy. I've never had an issue with him, although we definitely disagree in that area. But the point I was making, Adam, with Trump was with the vaccines. I don't know what the latest is on that, but I know by November the 1st they wanted to roll out the vaccines. And I mentioned I had Celeste Salome on the program. She said the reason why, and I agree with this, is on the Illuminati occult calendar, October the 15th through November the 1st is highly, how do we put this? It's a very key period for these Illuminati freaks. And with October 31st rolling into November 1st as the highest day of Illuminati sacrifice, which generally demands some type of fire sacrifice. But in this case, maybe we can just kind of,
Holocaust.
Yeah, like a Holocaust. Yeah, but I mean, if they roll out the vaccines November the 1st, and we already know that these things are dangerous, it's like very symbolic to me that Trump would be rolling it out on November the 1st. And I just don't get what some, and again, I'm only going to speak for the Catholic, what Catholics don't get about this. Like, it's not good for you. Having the National Guard in your own back neck of the woods is not good, considering what the next play is. But go ahead, Adam. I'm rambling here.
Well, yeah, we got Trump with his says he's behind Operation Warp Speed to get the vaccines out to the public, to the whole country and the whole world as fast as possible. He's said that he's going to be using the military to deploy it as best as they can, as quick as they can, because we're not going back to normal, and they're not going to let this COVID die down until everybody gets the vaccine. And what are they going to do when there's a large portion of the population that doesn't want to get it? Yeah, exactly. Imagine the pressure, the social pressure that the herd is putting on the people that aren't being compliant with whatever demands they have. Look at the freak out videos about the masks. How crazy is it going to get? One, we got the election coming. We also got the vaccines coming. Mm-hmm. And, it's interesting. I just covered in my video last night about the Abraham Accord. Mm-hmm. That's what the peace deal that they're calling the beginning, the first one with the UAE and Israel. And the Temple Institute, the people that are putting out this Trump Third Temple coin, they've got a whole series of them. They have a new coin out for the Abraham Accord coin. And on the back, they have the verse from Isaiah where it says you're going to turn your swords into plowshares and there's going to be peace in the messianic era in the end times. And they have a sword and it's dissolving into like all this technology. And there's have you seen it?
I'm looking at your video and it has the coin right on it. I'm looking at it.
Yeah. There's a vaccine syringe in that sword, and then at the very top there's also a Saturn, the planet Saturn. And that's interesting because we're always Saturn talking worship. About Saturn worship, all the parallels there.
Oh man, that's nuts. It makes my blood boil. Now, in regards to the Zio apocalypse, so what's some of the latest? You did a stream 4 days or so ago on that. And by the way, what's your prognosticate? How do you see this playing out? Do you think the elections will even go ahead? I mean, some of my political analysts have indicated that this might not even go through. If they do crash the economy, if COVID part 2 and lockdowns begin to happen, then we start getting into the whole mail-in voting fraud, angle or whatnot. Who knows? Maybe come, November, December, we don't have a supposed president. And I think they're all puppets to begin with. I mean, they're all just figureheads for, the people who really run this country. But how do you think this is going to play out? And to get to where they want it to go, I guess is the best way of putting it.
Well, the election definitely seems like it's going to be crazy. The unprecedented unprecedented election while we're in a pandemic shutdown. There's the whole controversy over the mail-in ballots, and both sides are saying that the other side is going to cheat. It's so crazy. They're really hyping in the media that there's going to be some type of like white supremacist violence, and they've really been. I mean, we've always been seeing these headlines, but more, they're escalating in frequency, saying that like the QAnon and the white supremacist is the biggest terror threat. You know, forget BLM and Antifa. You know, Marxist, communist. You know who's behind them that are destroying. I mean, I guess you know who's are behind QAnon and some of the
one
ops
website didn't
groups.
one website get pulled down? Didn't a website get pulled down over the last 48 hours? So getting busted. I forget, man. What was it was one QAnon website got pulled down for some malarkey over the past 48 hours. I'll have to bring up the article as you're talking here, but yeah, QAnon.
But there's headlines saying that there's going to be right-wing extremist violence during the election, which it's like win or lose. BLM and Antifa and their Marxist communist backers are going to be the ones causing the violence and the mayhem and the beatings that we're seeing every day. And it's just, the Jacob is trying to scapegoat Esau per usual. And this is where this anti-European, anti-white Christian West sentiment is all coming from. It goes back to the Jacob and Esau story. And it goes back even farther than that with their beliefs of Cain and Lilith and Samael with Adam and Eve in the creation Eden story. You know that it's Jewish belief that all Gentiles, Esau has a satanic guardian angel, Samael.
I've heard that. I've heard the angel's name, but I wasn't aware of that connection.
Samael is supposedly Esau's guardian angel. So Jacob's twin. Jacob fought with Esau in the real world, and then also on the spiritual realm when he fought against Samael, and that's when he wrestled with God and became Israel. Jacob to Israel.
Yeah, man,
and this is where it comes from. They believe in the end times. The prophecy is that Esau will ultimately serve Jacob or be destroyed. And they believe for their end times to happen in the temple and Moshiach, they have to destroy Amalek. And that is utterly blot out the name of anybody that opposes them, but mostly Esau or Edom or Rome or the Amalekites. It's all synonymous for Gentiles. And they are the light, we are the darkness, we are the impurity, we are evil, we are the epitome of Satan. We are impulsive. They take pride in their deception over Esau. It's just really a concept that all Gentiles need to know. I put a video up on my backup channel about a Black Hebrew Israelite that is really illustrating and demonstrating the danger of this Jacob and Esau theology or doctrine.
I think I saw that, yeah.
Did you see that? It's on No More News. Yeah, No More News 2. A Black queen on a plane rants about, so she thinks she's chosen. The Hebrew Israelites, like the Ashkenazis, both think they're the chosen ones. They have Jacob's blessing. They stole the birthright from Esau. And she basically says, y'all going extinct. Y'all mad because you got white privilege and y'all going extinct. And I got the birthright and I'm Jacob and you're Esau. And you came from me. And just even though it's coming from a woman with darker skin, it's the same. It's the same story. It's the same views that Chabad Lubavitch and the Ashkenazis are using to dominate America and basically take over the world dominance.
It's amazing how the Jews and Freemasons have virtually inverted everything that we would teach, like in the Catholic world, whether it's symbology or just like we have a certain narrative on a certain scripture. They completely invert everything. Like they'll turn it upside down and like this is how we see it, this is what we do, and it's typically the completely opposite of what we're saying, especially along symbology. Like well, I don't want to get into that right now, but I remember we did a podcast or a program. What was it, right when coronavirus was outbreaking? You had some of the top rabbis talking about how the or what we call the Antichrist, the Messiah would use this situation in order to bring about the new messianic era. Corona, equating that to crown or whatnot. It's listen, it's right here, folks. I mean, there's so many different ways you can splice this up, but again, I'm one of the rare few in the Catholic world that thinks the Antichrist is going to show soon here.
There's an article, Times of Israel opinion piece about, I think it was a rabbi says that Corona, he talks about Corona and the Holocaust, and he says that he asked some rabbi what was the worst day of the Holocaust, and he said when we were freed, when we were got our freedom, and it was because they were freed by the Americans and not by Moshiach. And then he said, and then he ended the article by saying that he hopes with Corona and all this chaos that that Moshiach will finally come. So, any big event, they say this is the end times, this is Moshiach. But it definitely seems like they're getting more towards the end of their script that they're trying to play out.
Yeah, we got the commie left versus the Zio right. That's basically your two choices. Now you're going to have some who are going to say, well, Trump's putting us on a slower path to death, basically, if you want. And I was like, no. I mean, take a look at the question of vaccines. I mean, right now he's in power, he's in place, and he's going to roll us out. Apparently, I'll argue he's going to be the one to drag us into World War III. It's not going to be some Dem. Again, my whole thesis, Adam, is this: like Trump has to be the fall guy in all these areas for when the uber leftist, socialist, Jewish commies come out into the scene. They're going to be seen as the saviors of the day. Look at these neocon types. They didn't get it. They couldn't get it. Capitalism has failed. And that's when they'll roll in, the whole one world digital economy where everyone's got to take the mark or whatnot. So they've got to be seen as sort of the savior types. And I've always argued, that the Antichrist was going to be the ultimate Mother Teresa type. Like he was going to deceive a lot of people because he's going to want to feed people, clothe people, house people, give them their vaccine, do this or that. And the stage is being set. There's no doubt about it. But why do some people believe that Trump is still sent by God when on paper, again, he's a Democrat on paper when you look at it? I mean, if you want to go the whole pro-life route and he'll kill less innocent lives, okay, I get that argument on paper. But outside of that, there's not too much of a difference between him and someone like a Clinton or Biden, really, in the end. But what were you talking about in that video about a week ago?
Well, the Christians think that Trump is chosen by God because that's the signaling and the messaging that the social engineers have been putting out through all their mediums, and Trump has been playing into it. QAnon is very similar with the cult-like messianic figure as Trump, with the speaking in parables with these Q drops. But ultimately, the Christian Zionists that sincerely believe Trump is a biblical figure is because his devotion and everything he's done for Israel. So ultimately, they believe that Trump is helping Israel usher in the Antichrist, so Jesus will return and destroy it and
King
play
Cyrus,
out
right?
the apocalypse. Exactly, yeah. So really, it's because they think that they're helping Israel to have the Antichrist.
Yeah, it's just I wish more and more people would read between the lines instead of sitting there and watching Fox News or
like Tim LaHaye. I did a video on the CNP. I don't know if you caught that, but that would be a good
Council
one. You
for
should check it
National
out.
Policy.
Yeah, Tim LaHaye, the founder of the Council for National Policy. He wrote the books Left Behind about Zionist end times prophecy. Trump just went and spoke there a couple weeks ago, and I did a video showing his beliefs. He made it was in some Zionist documentaries, and one of them was saying that the Antichrist figure would come from Europe. They were framing him as a European. You said something similar to that in the beginning of your intro.
Well, we were talking off air about that. Yeah, he'll be
off air.
Yeah, he'll be a monarch who'll actually be in charge of an army formally. And there's been talk in recent times of the EU in the EU area forming this sort of 10-nation coalition, which some people equate to Scripture, where it talks about similar things of Antichrist being
10 kingdoms or something.
Yeah,
right?
10 kings, being head of 10 kings, and he's going to knock out 3 of them. Off the top of my head, Libya is one of them. Somalia, I think so. There's like 3 specific countries that he's actually going to overtake. But then again, from a Catholic perspective, he'll actually overrun Rome and take out Rome and destroy Rome. But yeah, LaHaye,
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, yeah, to literally destroy Rome. They're going to overrun Rome. This is in part why I've always told you I believe Benedict is the true pope, and that he's going to have to flee Rome in accordance with Catholic prophecy. So my whole thing is, once you see this economic collapse, we're at like 1159, stock market crash, because then this along the Catholic prophecy timeline means, in my humble opinion, we're getting close to when Benedict XVI will flee. And some of this other stuff, more dire events start to happen on the Catholic side of things. But go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off, Adam.
Well, definitely the destruction. I mean, Rome sort of fell, but it still kind of has some power, I would say. But this is about destroying Esau. Edom represents Esau and Rome. So Rome needs to be destroyed in the end times. They consider, Netanyahu has compared America to the new Rome several times, and there's been other comparisons as well. And the destruction of Esau is about the destruction of Rome, the Christian West, Christianity. They consider Christianity idol worship. Jesus is idol worship in their view. It's why it's baffling that all these supposed Christians just like love these Zionists, and they're always trying to portray that Christianity has killed so many people and it's failed, and they're trying to destroy Christianity, destroy Esau, but then have some of Esau repent and serve them as Noahides, and they're trying to, and it's speeding up, but they have a long-term plan to convert Christianity and all the Abrahamic faiths and Islam, merge them into a one world religion with the Noahide laws and the Jews and the temple at the center. And that's the plan.
Yeah, I think we mentioned this off air. Antichrist will conquer Rome according to Lactantius, an early church father. He will kill 2/3 of all Christians, and the remaining third will actually flee to the mountains and the caves and the barns. And this is where we go underground, basically, when the mark of the beast is essentially established. But then also you had another church father, Venerable Holshouser, talking about this as well. Antichrist and his army will conquer Rome, kill the Pope, and take the throne. And so this is where I told you, economic collapse, a lot of instability in the West, and then basically that move is made towards Rome. And then I've always mentioned it as a part of my thesis. I think this biblical false prophet character is Yeshua ben Joseph, which I think you and I have talked about in programs past. Like, I think that's literally going to be his name, as far as I can read. It ties in with the whole UFO agenda, because they said he's one of these ascended master types. And again, I had Celeste Salome on recently. We broke that down, as well as Peter McCarthy, who might be a good grab for your program now that I think about it, because he gets into this particular aspect too, and breaking down, benign birth and a lot of the Jewish elements that we're talking about here today. But in case, Adam, I didn't even
hold on before you shift gears there. I wanted to comment about Moshiach ben Yosef. In my video last night, I read from 2 articles. Jewish authors who were making comparisons with Netanyahu and Moshiach ben Yosef, the first of the 2 messiahs in Jewish eschatology.
Yeah, no, I was about to find it, because I found it on Share International. I think I've sent you the website, to Maitreya's website. They actually talk about that, how this Yeshua ben Joseph, his other name is called Master Jesus. So he's one of these ascended masters. That'll be his other name. He says that most Jews and Christians will actually follow him. And I was going to, while you were talking, find it, and perhaps I will find it as we're moving along through here. But I have literally an excerpt from that where they talk about him taking Rome. They say right now he's lurking right outside of Rome right now, this Yeshua ben Joseph character. And then when the right moment comes onto the scene, then he comes onto the play, basically takes Rome. He's going to say he's in charge of the Christian churches. It's going to have the appearance like he's the Pope, but he's not, if that makes sense. Like, he's not going to want to be called Pope. And then he's like Batman's Robin. So then the Antichrist shows, and then he gets everyone to get, to take the mark of the beast, and they start performing all these signs and wonders or whatnot. But
have you heard of Armilus? It's the Jewish Antichrist figure that represents Rome.
The term sounds familiar. Yeah,
and he battles with Moshiach ben Yosef. And what's interesting is that the 2 messiahs in Jewish belief, first Moshiach ben Yosef, who builds up Israel and the ingathering of the Jews, and goes to battle with the Amalekites, which is Esau or Rome or Armilus, like you were just saying. But then he dies. So, and then Moshiach ben David comes. And it's interesting because Jesus is Messiah, son of Joseph, was his real world father. But he's from the Davidic line. So he's got the Joseph and the David, and kind of it has parallels with the two Messiahs.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense in accordance to what I've researched on with this guy. But it's just going to get really bizarre, man. I mean, there's a lot of bizarre stuff happening in the world. I'm sure you're well aware, being out there on the West Coast. I should have asked you this right off of the get-go, man. How you holding up? Wildfires galore seems out on the West Coast, not only in California, but up north, was it Washington and Oregon specifically? We're seeing those crazy photos coming out. It looks like Blade Runner 2049. So a lot of people are showing the similarities between the pictures now and that movie. How are you holding up out there? Is it nuts?
Luckily, it's a big state, so haven't had any fires too close to me this time. There has been fires all around me for basically my whole life, but the recent ones have been not too close. We have been having some crazy apocalyptic looking skies though.
Yeah, I was about to say, have you heard any? I've been trying to catch more and more of this. It's actually found in Catholic prophecy, these strange sounds in the sky, man. Did you happen to catch that one some months ago in Texas, where it literally sounded like demons in the air? I mean, that's what we believe that phenomenon to be. But I mean, it was eerie. If you haven't seen it, I'll send it to you off air. But just search on YouTube, Bryan, Texas. So Bryan, Texas. Strange sounds. And listen to that. Have a go at that, and see if you could eat lunch this afternoon.
I've seen some documentaries over the years with people talking about the sounds coming from, they record crazy sounds they're hearing.
Yeah, there's different theories. I've got some to suggest it's a result of this big planet which is coming, that's found in Catholic prophecy. It's breaking down our electromagnetosphere. Then others will simply say it's Project Bluebeam or scalar weaponry. Others might say it's like a whizzing by meteor or whatnot. Then others again, maybe it is just demonic in certain instances. I would say, depending upon which video we're talking about, it could be any one of those, really. What else is on the news here, buddy? We've had a lot of great guests on your own program, one of which I wasn't able to make happen because Brother Nathaniel doesn't do Skype. But how did that show go, man? I didn't get a chance to listen. I've been so busy. But how did that go with Brother Nathaniel? What did you guys all talk about?
Oh boy, what did we talk about? I honestly can't remember off the top of my head right now what we discussed.
Did you put that one on BitChute? That one?
Yeah, that was a BitChute only.
Okay, yeah. You probably can't get him on YouTube because he got banned a while ago on YouTube.
What about 9/11? That was just a few days ago. What are your thoughts on this 19th anniversary?
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. I got that video you had up on Christopher Bolin, who's been a guest of mine in times past, and again, highly symbolic number on the Talmudic, I don't know how you want to put it, within their own construct of belief system. I was kind of surprised we didn't see anything happen. I was really leaning towards something happening in the world on that day, but nothing has transpired. But some of my guests have pointed out that, well, you know what? I don't even want to go down that route because I'm feared of certain backlash. But in case, I'll reserve that comment maybe for off air later. But what do you think, buddy, about? Oh man, there's so many different things to talk about here. What's up with Laura Loomer? I know you did a video 3 weeks or so ago. Loomer, Shadowgate. What was that other girl's name that got busted on InfoWars? They had a break. They had to break with her because she was releasing some kind of information. I forget the girl's name. I can't get all the neocons.
Millie Weaver.
Millie Weaver, that's it. I tried to get her on the show.
I feel like I've been on. Did we talk about that last show? I can't remember. It all just blurs together.
We talk about so much. We may have talked about it for a minute or two, but maybe if we did, maybe as a follow-up, have you caught, like how she has responded basically to?
Yeah. I've been following it all very closely. I talked to the star whistleblower of her documentary who showed up in InfoWars studio and basically called him out for Jones's connections to Roger Stone and who they implicated in the documentary. And that's why Jones freaked out and fired Millie and removed the documentary from banned.video, which, by the way, that's Jones's new website, InfoWars' website, who Jones confessed that it was created by an Israeli and just given to him.
Oh, how wonderful. Just put on
That's
a
on my
platter.
backup channel if you want to see the clip of him admitting that.
Now you had Gilad Atzmon on recently too. That's interesting. Is that the first time you had Gilad on the program? I don't think.
No, I had him on a couple weeks ago as well, but we messed up our time, so we were cut a little short. So I had him back on, and we just chatting it up. He was basically just giving his thoughts on things.
Now, what's your thoughts on sports? What's been happening with sports? Again, a lot of these owners are just simply outright Jewish. I mean, the teams they are. Let's just be honest. Listen, my favorite football team is the Patriots, and it's run by probably one of the most evil people ever, Kraft. My goodness.
Yeah. And he was on the stage when Trump signed the executive order to ban criticism of Israel.
Yep. Yep. And well, that's just the start of it all, really. I mean, we know his scandals and his interweavings with probably human and sex trafficking too, as well. But yeah, a lot of propaganda. Obviously, the first week though, I managed to watch a decent amount of games. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I mean, I thought it was just going to be like really shoved down our throats, but it wasn't too bad. There were some comments here or there. But I would only imagine as these riots get worse. Can you imagine what it's going to be like week to week and all the demonstrations that are going to be having and players getting together and holding hands and we got to come together and all get along? I mean, it's going to be nuts.
Yeah. They're really using it for propaganda purposes. And I stopped watching sports probably like 5 years ago, although I used to be a sports fanatic, not a sports fan. They're fanatics out there. They had their tribal instinct shifted over onto a sports team in this simulated battle that you identify with and get so fanatical and enthusiastic into. And it's such a distraction. It's just total. Yes. I did a video a while back about the whole bread and circus, and it's actually in the protocols. They talk about using sports to distract us and to now that we're seeing all the propaganda. A lot of the professional sports were created by Freemasons as well.
Yes. Baseball, football,
and so I hope everybody stops watching sports and starts paying attention to what's going on in the world before the whole world burns.
Yeah, no, I got you. I'm right there with you. Speaking about the whole world burning, which are the latest prospects on the geopolitical side of things? I keep mentioning this over and over again. I'm still utterly shocked and surprised that there hasn't been some major false flag. And I'm not talking about corona. I'm talking about like a nuclear attack or chemical attack blamed on ISIS or Russia or whatever, Iran, to drag us into World War III. It seems like Iran's probably going to make the first move. Would you say it's a fair estimate? Like they'll probably attack Israel will fire back, and it'll just kind of like go back and forth between the West and the East, and then throw Russia into the mix, of course.
Very interesting question. I'm glad you asked it, because the Abraham Accords, some people are speculating that this is Netanyahu trying to grow what he calls his circle of peace with Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, UAE, America, all these countries, to create an alliance against Iran and possibly Russia, and Syria will be the alignment, and maybe even China as well. And they could create this, simulate this Gog and Magog outcome, or they could just use each side, as a boogeyman. And really the leaders are all working together behind the scenes, and they're all going to just, because they are floating the idea a lot right now. The APEC put out a tweet saying, Palestine, come back to the table, do what Bahrain and UAE are doing. Netanyahu, Kushner, and Trump are all predicting that they're going to make a deal with Palestine and Iran also. So, I mean, and then they're just going to like declare peace, and it's going to be a fake peace. And I think this is part of the one of the interpretations of the prophetic belief that there will be a peace covenant, and then it will be broken, and Gog and Magog will first go against Israel, but then they will destroy each other. Ishmael and Esau will destroy each other. Following?
Yeah,
That's
no,
the Arabs and Christianity
when
will turn against Israel together, but then they will destroy each other. That's the Edom being destroyed prophecy.
Yeah, when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh. 2020 has already been a very eventful year. We even had a rare earthquake in my home state of New Jersey, actually where I was born, out in Edison, New Jersey, which really freaked out people. I saw it on Twitter. I was like, "Ooh, that's a little bit interesting." What else stands out to you, buddy?
Well, you mentioned peace and security. The Alpha and Omega has a documentary about the end times. It's really well done. And oh shoot, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, peace and prosperity. They say that the Lord will come like a thief in the night, so you don't know when he's coming. But when people are declaring peace and security, and that's like all of these, Zionist war hawks are just like going, oh, we're just all declaring peace now and singing Kumbaya together. And really, they're just using their pressure and their influence and their leveraging their advanced technology in America, their control over America, to force all of these countries in the world to accept Israel and to collaborate and work and take Israel's tech, so that they're going to control the whole world with tech and trade with the Belt and Road in China and Russia. And so it's the Abraham Accords, the one world Noahide, one world government from Jerusalem and the temple. It's what Zionism and Judaism is all about.
Yeah, Abrahamic. Well, it ties into the one world religion thing that we've been breaking down in the Catholic Church circles, where anti-Pope Francis has been talking about this Abu Dhabi agreement and how Jews and Muslims both worship the same God as us. And we're standing like, no, that's a heresy. The Jews,
there you go. Yep.
Jews killed our Lord, and Islam is basically a Christian heresy. They're not obviously Christians following the true Christ as well. Now, have you ever looked into, again, in my humble opinion, again, the main area, or one of the main areas we really need to be paying attention to, is the whole UFO agenda, because I do think this is going to tie in with the Antichrist.
My dad used to be so obsessed with UFOs, and I've never gotten into them. The last time I thought or researched anything about UFOs was probably when the Thrive movie came out. I don't know how long, 15 years ago maybe, but you mentioned Pope Francis in the Catholic Church. I have an article up, 2014. Pope Francis leads Catholic Church in pro-Jewish direction, and I believe he is starting to slowly convert, as the evangelical pastors in America, Christianity to Noahide law compliant. Islam already is Noahide law compliant, but obviously there's still a lot of work that needs to be done there. The rabbis claim that the Muslims want to help them build the temple now, and they're calling Trump Cyrus.
Yeah, get old King Cyrus. I get so sick and tired here. I heard that, like, yeah.
I'm sorry. The Kabbalist belief is that Christianity and Islam are a good gateway and stepping stone to get the Gentile world to become Noahides, because it makes them think of the Jews as God's chosen people, and Israel and the temple, and look to a Jew for salvation. Although they consider Jesus, a failed Messiah, or not the Messiah. So they're still waiting, and that's why they're trying to build the temple and declare Moshiach, and that'll be their justification to see Jesus was not the Messiah. So it's really a battle over who the Messiah is what's playing out in the world stage right now.
Yeah, and even more so than the temple, though, too, an area that I've been trying to cover too, is, and tying it into the New Age, is how these New Agers are talking about this New Jerusalem. They pervert scripture, and they make it seem like this New Jerusalem that's going to come out of the sky is going to be a UFO, and a spaceship which is going to hover literally above Jerusalem. I'm not sure if you've ever investigated this or look into this, but I've done Rex Bear's show. What's his name? A Leak Project. He's come on my show. That was the first I had ever heard about, so I had to research it. And sure enough, yeah, on Maitreya's side of things, that's what they're talking about. Like when quote unquote peace is finally established, this spaceship, the mothership, as they put it, called the New Jerusalem, is literally going to hover I can't get the exact verbiage, like whether it's going to be right over the third temple or above Jerusalem or whatnot. I couldn't get like to pin it down via verbiage, but that's more or less how they see things play out. And that's why I said, man, you got to be prepared to see anything these days, especially on the mainstream media, because I think that's going to be ramped up. You're going to be seeing that on nightly news, on Fox, on CNN. Here's a UFO here in Asia. Here's one, in Columbus, Ohio, or whatnot. And
sounds like Independence Day.
Yeah, man, it's gonna start getting really, really weird. So I don't know.
Our talks are always so fascinating. You bring up stuff that makes me remember things I hadn't thought about. I covered in videos years ago that there is a belief that the temple will come down from the heavens in the clouds, already perfectly built, and it'll just appear over the Temple Mount and I guess come down. And there was actually some Israelis came up with a plan for a loophole to usher in the end times without actually having to destroy the Dome of the Rock and build the temple. They were going to use a Project Bluebeam type of blimps and lasers to project the third temple above the Dome of the Rock, so that this idea that they're going to do something like that and this is going to like push God's time clock forward as if he's not on his own time schedule.
Yeah, no, that's why I say it. I was listening to someone podcast about that. From my perspective, I don't like referring God to, God as the higher power. We see him as being the highest power, because the demonic and all these other fallen angels and all these other people trying to bring down who we believe to be the true God, the Holy Trinity. He has the highest seat. And I can understand why people say higher power, but I always say, man, he's the highest power, because he's sitting up there and he's just laughing at these fools, even though he's allowing all this stuff. I mean, he could just, push just like Jesus said. I don't know if you remember that one scripture, Adam, where Jesus is basically being handed over to be killed by the Jews, and he basically, it turns, and in scripture it says, "Do you not think that I could call forth, 1,000 legions right now of angels and just wipe out this whole earth?" Like, he could end this at any point that he wanted to, like this whole process of the staging of the Antichrist. I just think that God is so irritated with the world for the rejection of truth, and from our perspective, that he's just going to allow all these evils to bring people to truth, if that makes sense.
Well, a few things on allowing evil. The Kabbalistic thought is that all evil actually comes from God, and so evil can actually can achieve their means by use of evil. And also Jacob's deception teaches them to use deception on Esau. And to comment on the higher power and the highest power, remember I said that they believe that all Gentiles, Esau, our guardian angel, is their equivalent to Satan, Samael, the king of the Satans, in their belief, the epitome of all evil. They think that's our guardian angel. And my favorite Rabbi Reuven, up on my backup channel, believes that if the Jews were to put on their special They Live glasses, they would see that we have demons all around us, all around the Gentiles.
Well, I bet they do. Yeah, everything's inverted again, according to them. That's why basically whatever these Jews are saying, you just take the opposite of what they're saying from our perspective, from the Christian perspective. And the Antichrist is going to literally counterfeit everything that Jesus did. I mean, like all the stories that you read, even with the resurrection. I mean, it's an interesting detail that I'll probably bring up during the web conference. There's certain prophecies, such as Our Lady of La Salette, that talks about him, in regards to dark, black magic, the occult, or whatnot. But he's literally going to raise people from the dead, supposedly, and it'll be, through the use of the advanced technology that they have or whatnot. So all these stories that you heard about, Jesus doing or whatnot, like this Jewish false knucklehead is going to try to do himself. So, including ascending up into heaven too. I'm not sure if I ever said that to you, Adam. He's literally going to try to ascend into heaven like Jesus did, what we call the ascension, and he's going to be struck down by Saint Michael. Saint Michael's going to say, "Nope," kind of like a rejection in basketball. "Nope, go back down." He's going to get rejected. So,
very vaguely makes me remember a scene from Da Vinci Code, I believe.
Oh,
but
is that the one with Tom Hanks?
Another thing on the evil that you were talking about allowing evil, is there's the redemption through sin belief that you can usher in the Messianic age and the Moshiach either by being completely good or completely evil. And there's the whole Moshiach wannabes, Sabbatai Zevi and Jacob Frank, who were about inverting the law and inverting the Talmud and redemption through sin. So
yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting conversation. Unfortunately, Adam, we're out of time. I've got my next guest awaiting, Dr. Lorraine Day. For Adam's audience, I'm sure Adam's going to put this up on BitChute or somewhere, backup channel. Get over to TradCatKnight.org. Over 80 podcasts a month, bringing out some of the top anti-Zionists from around the world, but just breaking down the New World Order in general. And Adam, for my audience, why don't you have at it with some shameless self-promotion time? We'll finish.
Thanks, TradCat. NoMoreNews.org is where you can find all my links: YouTube, BitChute, DLive, Patreon, NoMoreNews.org. That's KNOW. There's Trump They Live t-shirts, Fox News imposter t-shirts as well. Supports the channel, supports my work. Thanks for having me on, as always, TradCat.
Good stuff, buddy. Hang off air here for a second. We'll get you briefly scheduled. Folks, until next time, stay safe and God bless.